Welcome to today's webinar, The Ins and Outs of Selling Luxury Travel. I'm Paloma Villaverde de Rico, and I am the editor-in-chief of Recommend Magazine and moderator of this webinar, which has been made possible by Recommend and the following sponsors: The Cove, Atlantis Paradise Island, Fairmont Mayakoba, and Palladium Hotel Group. This webinar is a complement to the Luxury Travel Trends Survey that was conducted on recommend.com, as well as the Luxury Travel Trends Report, which starting today is available for download from the handout section of this webinar. During this conversation with our distinguished panelists, we'll speak about the trends in luxury travel, as well as how the luxury travel sector offers boundless opportunities for you to grow your business. Before we officially begin, though, a few housekeeping items. During the presentation, feel free to enter your questions in the question box. We'll gather them together and hold a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Don't worry, if you miss something, this webinar is being recorded and you will receive a link via email to access the recording at your leisure. For those who attend the entire presentation, one attendee will win a $100 gift card. All attendees will earn one CEU credit. As an accompaniment to this webinar, you can access the Luxury Travel Trends Report, which can be downloaded from the handout section of this webinar, and the link will also be included in the follow-up email. Let's start this webinar by introducing the panelists. Susan Farewell, owner of Farewell Travels; Krista Betts, Manager, Senior Luxury Travel Advisor of Balboa Vacations; and Mary Head, owner of Magic Memories. All right, let's jump right into it. Susan, what three trends are you seeing in the luxury vacation segment? And of those, which might be the most surprising?
Thank you, Paloma, and really happy to be here. And I thank you for inviting me to join the panelists, and welcome to my fellow panelists. The three major trends that I'm seeing is people want completely organized and planned trips from A to Z. They want independent travel worked out so that absolutely every detail is taken care of. And I mean every detail. They want to be able to get on the plane, get off in the airport where they're going, be met with their name on a sign, and then have every detail worked out down to the details of restaurants they're going to. They don't want to leave the guesswork to the time they're at their destination. They want it to be plug and play, basically, because they have no time to guess and they don't want to make mistakes. One of the other trends I'm seeing is like a huge drive for people to seek out adventures and big adventures and social media worthy adventures. They want to climb mountains. They want to have start working towards their bucket list. And then the other big one is just the ways in which travel is using for education for youth and kids. It's really growing in a very new way, but I'm sure we'll get into that later. Thank you.
Krista, did you have anything to add to that?
Sure, sure. And thank you. Just to add on, Susan, I think we're seeing the same here, that people want seamless travel, everything being planned from A to Z. And then we're also seeing longer trips. It used to be, I remember when I started in travel years ago, it was like vacation was limited. I am seeing our travelers are taking longer trips and they are spending more. We're also seeing a new trend of planning more trips in advance. It used to be you'd receive a phone call for, we want this trip this summer. Now the phone call is, here's our summer plans, here's our winter plans, and then we're booking in 2021. So I'm also seeing that as a trend as well.
And Mary, did you have anything to add to these
No,
trends?
and I totally agree. And I think people are willing to book much further out. And that being said, they're taking more family members along with them with some special memories created there. And I think the millennials wanting to create those special moments and those special trips and then going with grandparents and things like that have become important to people.
Have any of these trends been surprising at all, or is it something that you figured would be coming along?
Well, just to tag along to Susan's point on people wanting to do the bucket list and the climbing mountains, I've found that my luxury clients, if the child wants to do something not technically that luxurious, like for example, a client of mine, she's always at the virtuoso hotels and properties, but her son wanted to walk the Camino in Spain, and I was really surprised that she went out of her comfort zone to do that walk with her son. And that was his college graduation gift.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Susan, did
Mhm.
you have something to say?
Well,
Did you want?
it's interesting that the other panelists should mention they planning early. This has really shocked me because most of my clients are very last minute,
Mhm.
extremely last minute, 2 weeks before they want to go to New Zealand, I get the call, that sort of thing. But now I'm seeing such a major trend towards planning early. It's frightening in a way because it's too early. And they don't want to pay up early, and we have to secure things early financially. So it does sort of shift the whole model of how we work quite a bit. It's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a
A good
challenge if
one.
it's
A
two
good
weeks
one.
out, and then a challenge when it's a year out, right? Yeah, or
Yes,
2 years
yeah,
out. Yeah.
definitely. Or in the case of one client last year, I had trained him, mind you, I had trained him to start thinking in advance because he was one of my last minute people. And he planned it out so far out that his wife didn't even look at the itinerary until maybe a week before they went. And that's when she first weighed in on it. And she had her own issues with it. And that's the first I heard from her. So, but he, meanwhile, was very smug 6 months earlier, having secured everything, had all I's dotted, T's crossed. It was interesting, to say the least.
All right. So you've sort of defined today's luxury vacation. What are some of the places that people are going on these luxury vacations? Mary, did you want to jump in?
Oh, definitely the river cruising. I think it's becoming a younger demographic and people are willing to try it. And especially for clients of mine that may have been sailing ocean liners for years and suddenly go into the river market and come back just so enjoying the fact that it's a pace of, having these ports that you're seeing all along the way and not just being out at sea. It's an active itinerary. They're now doing wine cruises on board, or they're doing multi-generational cruises on board. So if they want to take the younger generation, there's certain dates for that. So that it's across the board, they're pulling in a demographic that is no longer the person that you felt, was, having to retire and need 2 weeks at time. The only thing you really need to key into there is that if they have mobility issues, you don't want that person on that type of trip. So it does almost require that demographic to come down to a lower level to really enjoy it, to able to get around and see everything that they offer. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a definite sell that you can build a business on because they come back so happy that they've done it that way.
And you, Krista, you had what destinations or product are you seeing really flourish within the luxury space?
It's all over actually. We do, like Mary, have the river cruises, and people are excited to be on the river cruises. I remember I received a text from my client on board a AMA ship that said that we were going to have to drag her off the ship. That's how much she was
Yeah.
enjoying herself. But it's all over. I just got an email that someone wants to do their 50th in Tahiti, and then I received another email that someone wants to do their 50th in Bhutan. What's trending lately for me is I'm selling a lot of Africa. So that's popular to go see the gorillas and even East Africa, South Africa.
Oh, and you, Susan, I know you have great destinations you sell.
Yeah, it's really all over the globe for us.
Yeah.
But I would say there for the last 6 months or year, a lot of people have been interested in some of the South American countries, and
Oh,
especially places like Patagonia, where you can find really pristine wilderness. I think there's a real drive for that kind of wilderness and the sort of see it while you can. Uh, um, Philosophy that you want to see places, you want to see glaciers, you want to see animals, you want to see destinations that may not be here forever. So
and
that's
is the
mainly what we're seeing.
Is the expedition cruising trending among with any of you?
Yeah, my clients that cruise do gravitate towards the expedition cruises to Greenland and parts of around Iceland, and smaller expedition cruises, of course, Galapagos. They like the smaller expedition, real hands-on cruises rather
Okay.
than other types of cruises among my particular clientele.
Okay. Um, so Susan, how do you keep your clients loyal to you, coming back trip after trip and not booking online themselves?
Well, once they use our services, they realize there's no need to ever book a trip alone on your own again, because we take care of so many details. We think it through. We think through absolutely every inevitability for them, so that they don't have to worry. We also stay on top of their trip planning, and I always talk to you about my 5-year travel plan, which
Yeah.
it's an informal document basically. I always sit down with a client, whether it's in person or on the phone or on Skype or FaceTime, whatever, and discuss what they want to go, the places they want to go before the kids leave the nest, before they go off to college. What are the destinations they want to get to, and how do we over the next 5 years get those in, taking into consideration the fact that they have to paint the house next year, or they may have to move, or they have an elderly relative coming into their home. Um, so we like to look at their whole travel lifestyle as a lifestyle, and that keeps them coming back to us, just like, where next, Susan, or when are we going to start planning the Africa trip, that sort of thing. That's the main way we keep them. We're planning everything for their travel.
Mary?
Yeah, I had someone once tell me, which is something that you would assume everyone would know in the travel industry too, how you keep your client coming back. And you only, if you want to keep your client, call them when they return from that trip. Give them 24 hours to unpack, or 48 hours, or whatever it may be. But don't just send them that welcome home email. Actually call them and create an importance to hear, did I produce what you felt I was producing, and providing to you as a service. And 9 out of 10 times you're feeling confident if you've placed them on the right ship or on the right package, or whether it be, whatever type of trip you plan for them. But only call the clients after they've returned that you would like to keep, is what someone once told me. So don't want to keep them. You're not going to, you don't want them to feel that you are offering just one opportunity and then not taking care of them in their future bookings. You want to take care of them in a way that you say, I want to earn your business forever, not just for this one trip. So it does create an impact with them, I think.
So I had a travel advisor tell me the other day that travel advisors need to know their clients as well as doctors know the health of their clients. So they have to know what their travel is, what their
Yeah.
interests are, and everything, and just engage on that personal level.
Yes.
Well,
Truly.
interesting you should say that, Paloma, because people always say to me, what kind of skills do you need to be a travel designer or travel consultant? And I always say, well, if you've ever been a nurse, that would come in handy, because you have to care about somebody's comfort as much as your own. You have to wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my God, is Mr. Smith too tall for that class of service, he said, or whatever? Is he going to be uncomfortable? You have to think like a nurse and really care, be selfless in caring about another person's comfort
Yeah.
and their experience.
Yeah.
Did you have something to add, Krista? Or
I totally agree with all the points of picking up the phone and checking on the clients when they return. I find that mutually beneficial because you'll hear the good, the bad, and it helps you for future trips in your planning. But the nurse comment, Susan, is great. I recently had clients in Barcelona last week, and I did wake up in the middle of the night because I'm worried about them. I'm calling the hotel, I'm calling the concierge. My priority is my clients, and they know I care, so I think that keeps them coming back. It's that relationship, and it's almost, some of them I feel like we're family. So there is a lot of care and concern when they are traveling, so very important.
Yeah, I'd go so far to say it's almost like an emergency room at times. Certainly here, like if things change, if flights are canceled or what have you, it's like we're landing the 747 basically. But um, but we
That's great.
definitely liken it to an emergency room. It's like all hands on deck. Everybody stop anything else you're doing, just total focus. We have to fix this for these people so they can get home or get to the next destination.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and I think that now for me, it's more involved because even when they're in travel, we're communicating, we're emailing, we're texting. And I remember years ago in the beginning when I first started selling travel, I would sell the trip and then go on to the next, and you sell the trip and then you go on to the next, and then you wait until they come home. And now I feel like it's when they're in destination, we're constantly communicating with one another.
Yes, correct.
That's a great, yeah. So it's, yeah, exactly. In this day and age, it's just constant engagement, of
Hmm.
course. Now, in the survey that we conducted that I spoke about earlier, nearly 50% of respondents say their target demographic for their luxury vacation sales are baby boomers. Is this something you are seeing, Mary, or are you seeing younger? You had mentioned that even river cruising is skewing a little younger. So if you can expand on that.
I I definitely feel like there's such a huge market of baby boomers. You know, the older demographic of baby boomers has already retired, and the younger demographic has not come into retirement yet. You can get them on this cusp. There's a huge population out there of people that have never gotten on a cruise ship. So as hard as that is to imagine, it's a true, factual data that that's the case. I find a lot of my clients that I talk to, they're willing to take their financial planner and say, push all of my funds to the front end. I want to have my health, my time, and my money to do the travel I want now. They're not wanting to wait any longer. They're not, if you're coming into, certain ages, they have the resources and they want to do it now. So it's just an opportunity that is endless to be able to reach out to these people and create a business that's successful just off of baby boomers alone.
Oh, that's
So
interesting.
yeah.
And Susan, I know you sell a lot of family. Is
Oh, yeah,
there,
we do. We do, but we also sell to a younger demographic as well, and that's really building. And it's interesting because the millennials seem to be more of a do-it-yourself generation, but we're finding that once they find out about our services, they change instantly. So while they can Uber everywhere, it's really nice knowing that their driver, the driver that we pick for them, is going to get them to where they want to go, and they don't have to be concerned at all about anything. So we find that there's a younger demographic, and also they want to do so much. They're very inspired by their peers. It's, a lot of people have travel blogs and that stuff, and younger people are seeing it. It's like, I'm not going to wait till I retire to travel. I want to do it while I'm young. And
Yeah.
so they really want to get out. Honeymoons are very, very complex and long and exciting, full of adventures, bringing photographer or having photo sessions when they're at their destination. I just find there's an incredible building on the youth of travel. Baby boomers, yes, we have baby boomers, but I would say some are protecting their assets and are a little bit nervous about them. Others are not. And then the family, our biggest population of travelers are college age and high school kids and their parents. And I find I can't tell you how many of my clients have kids that have graduated from college and they keep saying to me, well, this is our last family trip altogether. Well, this is our last family trip altogether. And it's been going on for like 6, 7 years, and the kids are approaching 30 now.
oh, you give me hope because my kid, one of them is in college and one of them is in high school. So that
Oh,
means I'll
that's
have
right.
many more
That's right.
years. Yes, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And Krista, what demographic are you seeing in your bookings?
So it's across the board, like Susan and Mary stated, many majority boomers, and then some much younger who are out there and not wanting to wait to retirement, and they are traveling, and they're traveling with their friends, their sisters. We have quite a few families traveling, um, and it's we had a great big group family multi generational travel this year, this summer. Quite a few going to Italy. I found that quite interesting, and they said it was the trip of their dreams. They thought it was the perfect time. They're out of college. Everyone's, the older parents are okay and stable, because that was always a concern of leaving the country for a while, and now they're just traveling the world with their families.
Yeah, the multi-generational, and that's obviously it's baby boomers, Gen X, millennials, and now the Gen Z, the much younger. It's all these demographics into one big group vacation, but that's huge. I know the multi-generational amongst the luxury clients. And now, according to the survey that we conducted, the top travel motivators for luxury clients are authentic experiences, crossing off the bucket list destinations, which you had referenced, Susan, and exploring new destination. What are some of the top travel motivators for your clients, Mary?
I think my clients are looking for unique destinations. They have cruised to some of their first couple of bucket list items, as they call it. I find it's important to have them, in your discussion, let them visualize the trip, create that storyline for them while you're selling. And all of a sudden, you're just interjecting like that private guide that I might have that'll do this certain special something for you while you're there. Even if they never pick up the private guide and want to do that, it just creates a visual of what they want. I just find that with travel, I always say the anticipation can be more exciting than the journey itself. And if you build on that as you're selling to them, you've just gonna, just create a great impact.
I came from a conference just last week, and one of the things they said was that storytelling is so important for today's travel advisor, to be a great storyteller and paint that picture for them, before they even get there. Like you said, the anticipation is just as important. Krista, did you have anything to add?
Yes, I think the experience is huge for our travelers. Recently, I had a couple go to Ischia, and it was interesting when they talked about the trip. They stayed at the best hotel, they had the best excursions, everything. But the highlight of their trip was being in someone's home, a grandmother's home. She didn't speak English, so there was an interpreter for the cooking class. But the highlight of their trip, not flying business class, not all those things, but it was being in a grandmother's home, learning how to cook pasta and make tiramisu. So I think the experiences is what one of the highlights is what the luxury travel market is seeking, experiences, and then that just to get away from it all. I mean, yes, you want to be connected, but then just the moment just to relax and get away. But experiences are a big highlight.
And Susan, what's a top travel motivator for some of your clients?
Really, it's the education, and the word education is not really that sexy, but everybody really wants to learn. And so I have a lot of people that want to go to modern progressive countries like Iceland, New Zealand, where they're going to be inspired by the systems that these countries use to get around, the way their businesses operate, the way the transportation is. It seems like a strange thing to be seeking on your vacation, but people are really sort of like gravitate to these things, and they learn, and they'll say to their friends, we were on this train and it like took 1 second to get from wherever. um, and the design, people like to go to countries again like Iceland, where the design is so cutting edge and so new that it inspires them. So it's a learning, it's an education without being a classroom. It's a very seamless learning about different cultures and that sort of thing. I find every one of my clients is motivated to learn. It's really a common denominator, but none of them will come to me and say, we want an educational travel trip. But I can, if once I talk to them, I can see that's what they do. They're craving the possibility of learning something new. And at the same time, getting out of their day to day, getting out of their rut, their routines, and just getting away into another world and opening their eyes to a very different culture.
Yeah, that's interesting. It is interesting that people want things that you wouldn't even think of, like the
No,
fastest train, or yeah,
yeah,
and
white
that's what
leather
they take
seats on the
away.
train in Dubai. I mean, up there, like, can you believe it? I mean, that stuff. Yeah.
That's great. So according to our survey, when clients book cruises, they are looking for cultural immersion, ease of travel, unique shore excursions, and a global itinerary. And Mary, you had mentioned that they were looking for some unique destinations. What are some of those unique destinations that they're looking for?
One of the unique destinations I've had is Vietnam and Cambodia. When I do that welcome home call and I hear the stories of their experience there, you're curating a cruise for them to, like Susan said, they're embracing history basically. And it can be very moving. I did a group last year to Paris and Normandy. To stand on the beaches in Normandy and go through that cemetery is an impact that you cannot understand without standing on those grounds. And I think the same can be said for Vietnam and Cambodia, where to understand that piece of our history and see how those people have survived and their appreciation of life every day, waking up and just it's just something, as you said, Susan, it's just so special to them that then they come back wanting more and they're like, okay, where else? So if you can revolve it around a piece of history, they're willing to even take their own, children out of school, because what a better learning experience it can be firsthand.
I've done that.
Yeah, I have
And the
too.
school is okay with it because they understand. They're like, of course, that's the
Yes,
world is the classroom. That's perfect. They make
exactly.
them do something when they come back, but write a report or whatnot. But that's amazing. Yeah, exactly. And Krista, where are some of your cruise clients headed to?
I think many of the world cruises, whether they're taking the entire world cruise or they're taking just a portion of the world cruise, that's what appeals to them is going to, like, for example, the west coast of Africa. You're seeing history there. And not only are you seeing history, you're seeing the different cultures and you're learning so much. Like Susan mentioned, you're looking at the infrastructure, you're looking at how they get around and their food and just it's more of a immersive experience. So I think that's really what draws them. It's like a floating boutique hotel, and you get to stop at all these ports and have these wonderful experiences. And you're also sharing as you're traveling through Facebook or Instagram, all the social media platforms, and it just gives them a great sense of joy. And they're booking on board. I'm sitting here at work, and you're seeing the emails come through like, oh, they booked again. They're having a great time. So I think a lot of it has to do with new cultures, new experiences, and history as well.
And now, Susan, a question for you. What role do you think children are playing in determining where the family vacations?
Oh, the kids hold all the cards. Okay, they are the influencers. They determine where the family's going. And we work with a lot of families that are merged families, one and two marriages or whatever, where there's older kids, younger kids, they're all together. And so you're trying to please the 5-year-old that's interested in ballet, but also the 16-year-old that's only interested in military history or what have you. So they're just trying to please everybody in the family is really the objective
That's
there.
perfect.
Yeah. I
And
don't
now
know if
I
I
wanted
answered your question.
No, yeah, no, you did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Okay.
said they hold all the cards. I know in my household we
Yes.
hold all the cards. So yeah,
Yes, and as you and I have discussed before, where they study abroad is a major
exactly.
influencer. And it used to be in my generation, we went to Europe and Southern Europe for studying abroad, and now kids study abroad multiple times. I mean, not just a semester abroad; they might go 2, 3 semesters, a year abroad, and they're going further afield. They're going to India, they're going to Korea, South Korea. They're going to places that my generation never went to, and so their parents are now going to visit them, and they're inspired to go to places they would not have gone to if their college age kids or even high school age kids didn't go there on a study abroad program.
Yeah, that's very interesting actually
Yeah,
that that's factoring in now into vacation choices. It makes sense though.
yeah.
I also wanted to remind the audience, if you have any questions, feel free to send them, and we will be asking those questions after this general session. So how um, So, Krista, maybe you can respond to this one. How important is social media in determining where your luxury clients vacation? Maybe it's not important, but
I think it is, in a sense. I had a client recently email me a social media link that involved renting, and this is a luxury client, but she said that part of the trip they rented their own boat in France, and then they had this wonderful trip, canal boat, and everything. So I think it does influence. People see things that they'd never heard of, and the pictures are awe-inspiring. You're like, where is this? And you click on it on social media, and you look into it, and they're eager to go out of their comfort zone and do something not so much cookie cutter, but a little bit out of the box. Especially if they see their peers doing it.
yeah, that's good. That is good about social media to see all these places that you maybe never had heard of and maybe wanting to go there. Mary, do you see that social media playing an important role in some of your clients' decisions?
I do. I agree with Krista. They may see that a friend went and the friend posts all the photos, and then they, they're interested in that new destination. Um, it, for me and my business, I'm not following that so carefully because I'm not sure that most of my luxury clients are so influenced by that.
And Susan, I know social media.
Yeah, it's interesting because as my background is in magazines at Condé Nast, and the thing is, if there was a photograph of a vintage car and a couple on the cover of Condé Nast Traveler or something in Tuscany years ago, um, people would probably go to travel agents and say, "I want to go to Tuscany and rent a vintage car." But now you see all over Instagram vintage cars in Tuscany. And so it's every day that people are getting this information in their inbox as they scroll through. And so I have a lot of people come to me wanting these sort of ideas that are really wonderful and very photogenic. And they want to do these things because they've seen it on social media. Totally agree with Krista and Mary on this. So they're very influenced by it.
And would you all agree that it's not just the younger demographics, it's everyone who's influenced by social media, whatever age group, right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
All of it.
so. Even the
Yeah.
baby boomers. I was reading an article the other day that baby boomers. I mean, they're on social media. They're on Facebook. It's new to them, but they're on it, and I think they are influenced.
Well, and isn't the trend for Facebook users are now becoming the older demographic because the
Yeah.
younger people are just on Snapchat and Instagram. They want it to be brief and easy, and it's not the cool thing, I guess, to do anymore with the Facebook pages. But
Right.
grandma's looking all over it for what her friends are up to lately.
That's funny.
But what's
Um,
interesting to me,
yeah.
Paloma, is that because Instagram and I talk mostly about Instagram because I agree with Mary. Facebook's kind of your grandmother's social media network. Because it's so global, so international, your friends in Sweden could be posting pictures of where they go on vacation. And so it might be very easy to fly from Stockholm to the Canary Islands, but it may not be so easy to get there from Chicago or wherever you may happen to be. So we're inspired by an international population of people that travel, but we don't necessarily have the direct A to B route to get there. So I have people coming to me saying, can we go to this sort of exotic destination that my friends in Greece or whatever went to? And it's really hard to get to, almost impossible from where they live. So it presents new challenges for us.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
factor that's playing in because of that. That's interesting. Now, so according to the survey, the average number of nights luxury clients are spending on their vacation is about 7 to 13. If you want to jump in here, Krista, what's the average that your clients are spending on their vacation time?
I would say about 10 to 14 nights on average is what people are spending. We have some that are doing the longer cruises now that they're retired, but on average, I would have to give it 10 to 14 days.
And Mary?
I agree. I think typically some of them will come in and they'll be making that call for, oh, give me a 10-day trip. And I always try to tell them, if especially if they're a retiree, you're flying all that way and you're going to spend the money to get there. So why wouldn't you want to also go see Prague and extend your trip? Or it's a great way to do add-ons because if they do have the timeline of 3 more days or 4 more days, then I try to make sure the trip's, at least 14 days when they're flying a long distance.
Okay. And in terms of over tourism, how important is this for your luxury clients? Are they looking to stay away from over touristed destinations? Are they aware of this? Is this something that factors into their vacation decision making? You want to
I think
respond
it
to that,
Oh, I'm
Krista?
sorry.
No,
I
perfect.
think it does for my clients, and the conversation has come up about sustainability as well. And I think they're more eager to spend their vacation dollars at a property that is being innovative with sustainability, their footprint, how they're treating staff, the environment. So I think it all comes into play. There's some hotels that do a great job with. Sustainability and recycling, and it makes a big difference. I mean, even with clients are going on safari, when they know, oh my gosh, my trip is helping this village and it's helping train these children go to school, it makes them feel good about their trip in general. It does come up in conversation.
Mary, do you see some of your the cruise luxury clients opting for cruise lines that are, trying to be as sustainable as possible?
Yes, I agree with Krista. And I also feel like they're, you hear a lot of the media saying, okay, well, the Port of Venice is now overpopulated. I mean, Uniworld had one of their ships, had an accident there. Wasn't their fault, but bigger ships coming in amongst the smaller ships. It's more things like that. They don't anymore want. They're concerned about sustainability and all of that, but I think their footprint that they're leaving in terms of saying, well, maybe it's not so great for us to take these destinations like Santorini and Venice that have become so popular. And probably a big piece of that is social media, but they're saying, no, I'm not sure I want to go there, or send me in October when it's quieter and it's not going to be that feeling of tourism. They don't really want to seek that out.
You're seeing the same trend, Susan?
Well, I feel I have to educate my clients a lot because they are
Okay.
motivated by what they see on social media and what they've heard from their friends or what have you about where they want to go. And there's a lot of places in the world I just sort of cross off and say, you're not going there. And I really have to be firm with them. You're not going there in August. You're not going there in July because some of these places are fabulous in September and October, but go in July, August, they're horrendous and people will not be happy. And I don't want to be the one that gets the text or the call or the WhatsApp saying, we want to get out of here because it's too crowded. So I feel that if they come to me and they say they want to go to some crowded island, I will just present them many other options. It could be the next island over. So it's just a creative way to offer a solution. Many people have to travel during the summer months or the over Christmas, whatever. But there are always alternatives, and they can be very easy to find.
And they
So,
are and they're agreeing to this? They are
oh,
okay with
yes, and in the end, I've had people thank me and say, "Well, I'm not going to out any one city or island
Yeah,
on
of
this
course.
webinar because I don't think it's fair for the economics of any one tourist destination." But I do feel that I've had people come back to me and say, thank goodness you told us not to go to X because everybody we met along the way told us it was really crowded. So, yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah.
And now, so obviously among luxury clients, the five-star and high-end boutique luxury accommodations are very popular. What other type of luxury accommodations are you seeing being requested by your clients? Are villas perhaps, which I know is quite popular now? Krista, do you want to take that one?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I had one of my high-end clients send me a picture to circle back to social media. She wanted to plan a trip to Peru, and there was these. You, Mary, you might know. It's on the side of a mountain that's
Oh yeah, I know.
curved and it's clear, and you can spend the night on the side of this mountain, and you have to hike there, and you spend the night and you zip line down. So that was very unique. So I think for me, my clients, they're luxury, but they like the experience. And a lot of times I think I heard someone say they want to one up their neighbor because they see what their neighbor's doing. So it's like, oh, I'm going to Peru too, but I'm doing this. I'm going to spend the night on the side of the mountain and zip line down. So, um, but villas are quite popular as well. Anything over the water, I don't know, it's
Oh,
quite popular as well. They want to be over the water, but people like unique. There's a hotel in Italy. It's one room and it's almost 10,000 square feet. So I think that again, it's like this experience. You're in this unique place. It's owned by a former pope used to live there. So I mean, you have the history there. You have this one room. It's unique. I mean, it's just one of a kind. So people are looking for one of a kind accommodations as well.
yeah, one of a kind accommodations that offer an experience in and of themselves, I guess.
Hmm.
Susan, did you want to add something?
Well, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what Krista just said. And I know about that property in Peru. And I mean, some people look at the wall and do not want to go up it
Right.
by via ferrata. You have to do the fixed rope climbing, which is fun for many people, including myself, but not everybody wants to do that. And then to go to the bathroom at night, you have to be like Spider-Man on the side of the mountain, on the rock face. But so the so so one thing is the authentic, the request for we want authentic. I have to really read between the lines on that one because authentic to one person is not authentic to another. And some people want authentic, but at the same time, they want to know there's a place to put their luggage. They want to know there's air conditioning. They want to know there's a lot of comforts that they're used to. And they're going to be the first ones to complain
Sure.
if they're staying in a little beautiful little hotel above the town square in the coffee region of Colombia, they're going to be the first ones to complain if there's no AC and the windows. You can't close the windows because you need the air, but there's always people out in the squares all night. So I have to really drill down deep when I talk to my clients that come to me and say they want authentic. In Morocco, for example, they all want to stay in a riad, but a lot of the riads don't necessarily have a lot of light. They may not have the size showers and the accommodations that these luxury clients are looking for. So I find it's really important to fully disclose as much as we can, as much as we know about the authenticity of these experiences. They're not one size does not fit all on this.
And
Yeah,
I
that's a good point.
agree. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to,
No, no.
when you mentioned Morocco, I was talking to a client and he insisted on a desert camp. And when I described it, he goes, "Oh, no, no, no. I can't do that. I can't leave the Mansour and to go to that desert camp."
Oh, no, no, no way.
We found him something else though.
So we have a lot of questions from the audience. Um, the first question is, and let me know who wants to respond, for the expedition cruising, what ages are you seeing for these particular cruises? Does someone want to respond? Who would like to respond to that one?
I'll respond. Oh,
No, go
Oh,
Susan.
ahead.
yeah, no,
Go ahead.
respond, and then I'll go over to
Uh,
Susan.
Well, for me, I would say it was the average age on the last one was 55. It was a small group in Antarctica. But then also, I have a very, very active family who went on an expedition to the Arctic with talc, and they're 65.
Oh,
So it
okay.
does vary.
Yeah, Susan?
Well, I think it really depends on the destination. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
there's a wonderful cruise in Patagonia between Ushuaia and Punta Arenas,
Hmm.
and it's a fabulous cruise. But I tell you, most kids under the age of 18 would be bored to tears because there's not a lot on the boat and the excursions are fabulous, but a little goes a long way with a teenager. And there's virtually nothing for the little ones. I'm not even sure the boats allow little kids. But at the same end of it, for the older crowd, their mobility can be an issue. Getting in and out of Zodiacs to go on some of these excursions can be really challenging, even though you have 3 or 4 hulking men helping you, and they're brilliant at what they do. There's a lot of mobility challenges. So it's every cruise is different. Every expedition cruise is different. And so really ask a lot of questions to your travel advisor when you're interested in something like this. A lot of questions.
And another question, and I think this is for you, Susan, because you had mentioned this. What is the 5-year travel plan?
A 5-year travel plan is basically just something that I and my firm, I actually came up with, because what happened is I used to have people come to me saying, you know what, my oldest is going off to college and we never got to the Grand Canyon. And I'd say, now, why do you think you didn't get to the Grand Canyon? And they said, well, we always joined planning too late. And so there was never any availability. So we always end up skipping it because if we couldn't go in April, we didn't want to go in the heat of the summer. We didn't want to go in the winter. So we didn't get to go. And so I thought, you know what? If people started seeing their travel in terms of 5 years, they'd get to all the places they want to go. Because you sit down with your family and you discuss, what do you want to do? What's important to you? You talk to your spouse, you talk to your kids or grandparents, who's ever involved in travel, what's important to you? And then how do we work it into 5 years, the next 5 years? This has to be revisited every year, of course, because things change, health, budget, world news. It can impact where you're going to go. But if you know what, when the kids are 12 and 14, we're going to South Africa. But in the next 3 years, we're going to do little trips. We're just going to be going to the Caribbean, or we're going to Western Europe. Or if you have some broad stroke ideas of what you're doing in 5-year chunks, it really helps not only with young families, but for retirees. So if you know that you're both retired, where do you want to go? You don't want to be traveling necessarily 25 hours when you're 70 years old. You don't want to be traveling all the way to Southeast Asia necessarily, 70, 75 years old. You may want to do that when you're a little younger. So if you're thinking in terms of 5 years, you're going to take these things into consideration.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And you have a great article in our magazine regarding that 5-year plan that I can shoot over
Thank
to
you.
this travel agent. Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I just wanted to add to that 5-year plan. I think it's brilliant because on that 5-year plan, I mean, you put those special key dates, whether it's birthdays, graduations, anniversaries, uh, getaways, and just all kinds of things you can have on that calendar. And what I like about that 5-year plan is you can put your ideas on there, but sometimes those vacations can piggyback on one another, like and it just it's a brilliant idea, Susan. Just wanted to say that.
Well, I shouldn't take all credit. I just know that we really developed it as a firm because we do it with all of our
Mhm.
clients. It's something that we at least suggest to all of them and have been doing it for at least 10 years now.
So another question from the audience is, I have a luxury client with mobility issues that wants to take her family to the Amazon and on a smaller ship. Any suggestions on lines or a particular ship? If you,
I've heard that Expeditions. I would look into that one. I don't know if she's looked into that one as an option.
yes, I've heard the same thing, Aqua Expeditions. Okay, another one. This is a interesting question. Maybe Mary, you'd like to respond. Do you give your clients your personal cell phone to do business?
Absolutely, yes. Give them any number in your home that they would like to call you on. They love to know that they are always connected. And I know sometimes it can be an inconvenience. However, I've got my phone set on the, bedtime setting, and at 10 o'clock, everything turns off. So yes, if it's an emergency, obviously I'm going to get that call. But there's nothing like them knowing they can text you, they can email you, they can call the office number, the cell number, you're available for them because you're their concierge travel planner. And that I think creating that concierge mentality, that you're providing that type of upper level service to them is critical, very important.
Yeah,
And for me personally, I haven't found that anyone has taken advantage of having a cell phone number.
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
Susan?
Well, yeah, I think one of our selling points as travel designers is that we're not 1-800 something, okay? We're not in a call center just taking their calls, and we're the same person. We're going to be the one, I'm the one who's accountable for if they're unhappy when they get to their destination. It comes back to me. And I want to be held accountable, and I will put my feet will be to the fire if something is not working and it needs to be rectified. So that is a huge selling point, and it's a very, very valuable tool for us, for them to know they've got 24/7 support. And so it's important that travel firms have that kind of backup to make sure. So you can have your personal cell, but of course we're traveling all the time. We're doing things. So who's getting that call? Is it your assistant, your associate? Are they as well trained as you are? Are they going to be able to reach you if they need to? So that backup system, if you want to avoid the 1-800 number, is critical to really develop.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
So do any of you have an opinion about charging a planning fee? One of the audience member asks. Anybody want to jump on that one? All right, Mary.
I think I can answer that because I actually just attended a conference out in Las Vegas about a month ago, and that was part of the discussion. And it was interesting, to hear the feedback that even from the supplier side of things, which is where I used to be, they were up. It was like an absolute that yes, you should be charging fees, and you should not be afraid to do that. Personally, I can't say I'm in that mode just yet, but it was quite interesting to hear all the feedback that people, even if you had an upfront fee of some, say it would be a South Africa type trip that can be quite time consuming if it's an FIT type thing. But if you apply it to the person's purchase and they're aware of that, they're just going to say that, well, that person is going to be of value to me. So, like I said, I mean, I haven't taken my business there, and I think I will moving forward, but I'm kind of taking baby steps in that direction.
And Krista, do you have an opinion about that?
Yes, I charge fees, professional service fees. It's all dependent on the situation. It's not a consistent service fee. I would say for my clients that are regular clients, I do not charge a service fee. But I recently had a new inquiry, and she detailed out what she wanted, a complicated FIT, and I quoted a service fee up front, and she was totally fine with it. She said, yes, of course, that's what she expected.
And Susan?
Yeah, we always charge a trip management design fee, and it's most of my clients expect it, and it's a huge part of the business for me because it's I cannot put in the time and have my staff and my DMCs and partners. We put all the effort into custom designing an itinerary for somebody to walk away. No, thank you, that's not happening. Um, Also, if they, the flip side of it is when they pay a fee, they have expectations. So it's harder because they want more. You become instead of Googling something, they Google you because they feel that they call you because they figure they're paying for you. So you need to be snap ready for them at every twist in the road. But yeah, I wouldn't do it any other way, frankly, without fees are mandatory for us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So the next question is, are there any top brands that cater towards luxury travel? So what are some of the top brands you guys use? I don't know who wants to respond.
Well, I can easily go there. I mean, top brands. I mean, I'm very cruise oriented. So Uniworld's a huge sell for me. And then Oceania's doing a magnificent job. And if you can push them up to Regent or a cruise line like Crystal, you're going to have some repeat business and you're going to build a great business that way.
Krista?
I would say Seabourn and Crystal. You have and they have just a high repeat uh, ratio. They rebook on board. Very happy clients with both those lines. AMA is another good one. So those would be the top ones in regards to cruise lines. If we started talking about hotel properties, we'd go over. I have a lot of favorites on that one.
Do you have two?
Montage. I love the Montage. Kapinski,
Oh, yeah.
Roccaforte.
All right. Yeah, you could go on and on. And Susan?
Yeah, it really depends on the client. So I
Yeah.
really can't say. I mean, some of my clients are Amman junkies.
Yeah.
Okay, some of them. So it really depends what they want. Some every client is an individual, and that's how we always will never again, no one size fits all. So I'm not going to just slap a brand on somebody. We're kind of brand allergic at this point. We use top brands all the time, but we do not promote our connections to the brands as our way to get the business, because most of my clients really want our very individually handpicked, curated choices. And often these are not members of big brands. They can be incredible little villas in Tuscany or whatever, and they have no
Yeah.
association with any major chain. So the brand is, it's just not something that we're gonna, the brand is our brand, Farewell Travels, frankly. That's it. That's our curation of what we think is the quality for our clients.
And I have time for one last question before I announce the winner of the gift card. Do any of you carry any type of errors and omissions insurance?
Yes.
Yes, very,
Okay, so it is important.
very important.
And to revisit it and make sure it's up to date every year, and to make sure all your information's up to date with them and that sort of stuff. Very
Excellent.
important.
All right, so thank you very much for responding
Thank
to
you.
all of my questions, all the audience's questions, and we are going to announce the winner of the $100 gift card, and that is Patricia Norris. So that is Patricia Norris, Norris. And thank you all for attending the webinar. And thank you, Susan, Mary, and Krista, for providing your expertise on luxury travel. Have a lovely rest of the afternoon to
You
the
Thank
audience
too.
you.
and to you guys. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Paloma. Thank
Thank
you.
Okay, bye.
Thanks.